All right, this next tool we're going to talk about in Camera Raw, the targeted adjustment tool, is actually one of the more fun tools because it lets you interact with your image directly and make some creative edits just by interacting and dragging within the image instead of playing with a bunch of sliders. So let's go switch to that tool. The targeted adjustment tool is this guy right here with the little target on it. And there's actually quite a few different target adjustments available. If I click down on the tool icon itself, I get a little pop-up menu where I can choose something called parametric curve, kind of a geeky term. This is just basically tonal correction, so lights and darks and shifting them to either darker or lighter. Some color adjustments, so shifting hues and saturation and intensity and luminance, and then also a custom grayscale converter as well. Let's start with the parametric curve option. For those of you who dream in keyboard shortcuts, there's actually keyboard shortcuts to toggle back and forth between each mode of the targeted adjustment tool. For now, we'll just use the pop-up menu. Now, instead of going over here and figuring out what slider you're going to use, you can just click into a particular part of the image and start dragging to make some changes. So, for instance, if I want her shirt to be lighter, I'm not really sure, is that in the highlight area, the lights area, the dark area, or the shadow area? Well, I'm referring to these 4 sliders here over on the right. Instead, I can just start clicking and dragging up or down. If I drag up, I'm making that particular portion lighter, and you can see the curve changing on the graph there. And you can actually see the slider. Apparently that shirt was in the dark area, and you can see the dark slider moving left and right as I drag my mouse up and down. And you can see the tool cursor gives you a clue of which direction to drag, right? Because it's a double arrow pointing up and down, that's the direction I should be dragging. If I drag right and left, you'll see nothing happens on the image. So if I wanted the shirt to be a little bit lighter, like I said, I drag that up. Now if I want his shirt to be a little bit darker, let's say, or lighter, depending, I can click and drag on that part of the image and just start dragging up or down to adjust that part of the curve that represents that shirt. So very quick, easy adjustments just by deciding where you want the adjustments to occur by clicking and dragging in the image directly. Let's take a look at some of the others. Let's go to hue. Let's say that I want to shift the color of blue on the pants to be a little more cyan or more towards purple. Again, just start clicking and dragging up or down. If I drag down, you can see it automatically knows what color I'm clicking on, and so it targets the purple and blue slider appropriately. If I drag up, it's going more towards the purple range, and if I drag down, it's going more towards the cyan light blue range. So again, kind of a cool little technique there to adjust color within an image without having to figure out which slider you're supposed to be using. All right, let's take it back towards more kind of purplish indigo. And then let's use one more. Let's take it from grayscale mix. Once I do this, it automatically checks the convert to grayscale checkbox, but it then allows me to decide which specific colors I want to go grayscale and how light or dark they're going to be. So if I want to click on this background color here, I can decide I want that to be a little bit darker, a little bit lighter, and it's automatically correcting and adjusting the sliders appropriate to that region of the image. So again, click and drag just to darken that area as well. Let's go back to the saturation slider. This one's kind of fun. Let's say I want to make everything grayscale but the blue or purplish blue of their clothes. So I'm going to click in the green and start dragging up or down. If I drag up, it's more saturated. If I drag down, it's going to desaturate the greens. Okay, and that was kind of the yellowish green. So there's some dark green here. Let's click and drag down to make that desaturated. And there's some little color there. We'll make that desaturated. And then the pink of the faces will desaturate that as well. And maybe the reds of their faces as well. So with just a couple clicks, I was able to desaturate everything except the area that I cared about. And then if I want to boost the saturation of the purples of the clothes, I'll click and drag up to boost their saturation. So like I said, the targeted adjustment tool is more for kind of creative editing. It lets you think about the image and the content of the image and interact with it directly rather than figure out which sliders you're supposed to be using to make the adjustment that you're trying to do.